please. Go. Please be seated. Witness as well.
Thank you very much, witness. Welcome back. Mr. Puliati will continue his cross-examination. I understand that everyone has been kept abreast of the development with the technical problems and the efforts being made to rectify the difficulty with microphone tripping off in interpretation booth. The work is underway. Hopefully it will be corrected after today at least. When we come tomorrow, we wouldn't have that difficulty anymore. In the meantime, we will try and deal with it and proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I've also been advised that until it's fully rectified, if I were to adhere to a 7-second rule rather than a 5-second rule, it might also ameliorate the proceedings until the matter is fully resolved. So if I'm pausing for what appears to be more than 5 seconds, that's why I've been asked to do so.
We will try. I thought 5 seconds was too long to begin with. 7.
We'll see how we go. Witness, welcome back. Before the lunch break, you were telling the court about witnessing Samuel Ruto passing by you in a convoy, celebrating his having been elected to the position of councillor. And I'll just remind you at this stage that we've resumed an open session. So don't tell the court, don't say out loud where this was at this time. And shortly before we broke for lunch, you said that you had heard Samuel Ruto say that as the ODM had won, that the Kikuyu needed to return to Ottaya to start returning to Ottaya. And my question is this.
Mr. Puliati, before you deploy that question, you might have noticed I was looking at my transcript shortly before we adjourned, and that wasn't that matter. Did the witness really say that, or do we need to repeat the question and see and get from her entirely what Mr. Samuel Ruto said? The problem may be with, again, having all this relay interpretation, but I would rather have the witness say what Mr. Samuel Ruto said on that occasion, so that there's no confusion as to whether the witness was interpreting something or whether that's exactly what she heard.
Of course, Mr. President, it's entirely a matter for the court, and I'm guided. If I draw Your Honour's attention to the clarifications, the question itself was posed on page 59 of the real-time transcript that I have in front of me, from lines 4 to 8, and the specificity that Your Honour is referring to, I believe, is addressed in the follow-up question at lines 9 to 11. But if the bench feels that the matters should be put again, then of course I can do that, but I'm guided.
No, it doesn't address it. If you looked at lines 6 to 8, you might see what I'm talking about. point is not that it might not have been said, but it just, we want to be clear on the matter that all that we see there were actually said by somebody.
I do see it, and I will re-put the question, or I'll put the question in a similar manner. Witness, I'd just like to ask you again something I asked before lunch. As this convoy was passing you, could you recount for the court what you heard, if anything, as this convoy passed you?
What you said you heard Mr. Samuel Ruto, right? Mr. Samuel Ruto, what exactly did you say you heard him say?
Sio Samuel Ruto alisema ni Sami Ruto.
It was not Samuel Ruto. It's Sami Ruto who was speaking. And this is what he said. The results have been announced and ODM has been declared the winner. For that reason, the Kikuyus must look for vehicles that will take them back to Othaya so that they can go back to Othaya.
Thank you, Mr. President. Witness, when you say Sami Ruto, is this the person who was elected to councillor that day?
Nasugumzia huyo mtu alishinda.
Yes, I am talking about that man who won the elections to become the councillor for Kimumu.
And did he say what types of vehicles the Kikuyus should start looking for?
Hakusema ni magari gani.
No, he did not specify what types of vehicle.
Now, the other members of his group in the convoy, can you tell the court what they may have been doing?
Kwa hiyo msafara hata hawa watu wengine walikuwa wanasherehe.
In that convoy, even the other persons were also celebrating. There were other vehicles in that convoy, including, for example, the vehicle belonging to someone who is called Ire, who is a sports person who does the marathon. Then there was Sumbira, who was the governor, and another person who holds a position within government, which I do not know. His name was Mika Cheserem. So these people's vehicles were part of that convoy. Mr. Mika Cheserem owns a large farm at a location known as Marura. He grows flowers in his flower farm.
Pause there for a moment. Is the spelling of the name Sambera Sambera? Is that correct?
Ni S-U-B.
The spelling is S-U-B-E-W-A.
And is IRA spelt IRA? Is that correct?
IRA.
And the last name you mentioned, we just want to get the spelling correct. Is the first name Mika, M-I-K-A? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
And that person's second name, Seselem, is it correct?
C H.
It's C-H-E-R-E-M. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me repeat. C-H-E-R-E-S-E-M.
Apologies, Mr. President. I just want to ask where that name is in the statement. This is the first time it's been disclosed to us.
I wouldn't exactly categorize it as a disclosure. We're dealing with the statement in around paragraphs 27 and 28, and the names that the witness has given are at that location in the statement. We're not in a position to, during court, take it any further.
All right, proceed, Mr. Pugliati.
Now, witness, you've told the court that in this convoy, the other persons were also celebrating. Could you explain to the court how they were celebrating? Were they doing it?
Ruto and somebody else called Samuel Ruto. Is that the case? Or are we speaking about the same person? Keeping in mind the correction you made earlier when you said Sami Ruto.
Ni mtu mmoja mwenye nasema sasa niku.
I am talking about the same person. In some instances, the name can be shortened to Sami Ruto, or one can say Samuel Ruto, and it would be one and the same person.
Do you know of anybody else in connection to what happened at the time, which you're telling us about? Would there be somebody else also called Samuel Ruto?
Hakuna, ni huyo mmoja mwenye naongea juu yake.
No, there is no one else. I am talking only about one person, Samuel Ruto.
So, witness, what I was asking you was, apart from what you heard Mr. Samuel Ruto say, can you tell the court how the other members of his group would have been celebrating the election victory?
Walikuwa wanafurahia wakisema
Answer. They were happy and they were saying the Kikuyus are going to be going back. The Magoa Goa, the Sangari, let them go back to Utaya.
Witness, could you just repeat the last line of your answer for the record, please?
Is that because of Madoa Doa?
Yes, Mr. President.
I think we can accept that the witness said Madoa Doa, so she doesn't have to repeat that.
I'm very grateful. That's of much assistance. Now, witness, could you describe how you felt, what you were thinking at this moment?
wakati huo walikuwa wanasherehekea, walikuwa wanasema.
Answer. At that time they were celebrating. They were saying, the radio station just announced that ODM had just won the election and that the Kikuyu have to go back to Utaya.
Yes, I understand that. My question was, when you observed this, how did you feel? What did it make you feel or think?
Niliogopa kwa sababu.
Answer. I was afraid because since they had just said those words, the tension was beginning to rise all the way to number 1.
Mr. President, I have just one or two follow-up questions which perhaps it would be prudent to explore in follow-up session, private session, follow-up questions in private session, beg your pardon. Should not be more than 2 or 3 minutes.
Private session.
Nous sommes en audience publique, Monsieur le Président.
The court officer, we are in open session.
Witness, we're back in open session, so just a reminder, please use the number on the sheet in front of you. Now, you say that you saw person number 3 with a machete. Could you please tell the court a little more of what you saw that person doing with the machete?
Vile alikuwa anasapen panga kwa barabara.
Answer. He had a machete alongside the road and he was sharpening it. And then he was saying that the Kikuyu had to be going back to Utaya.
And can you describe the manner in which he was sharpening his machete?
Alikuwa na hii ni barabara, tuseme hii ni barabara, alafu alikuwa anafanya.
Answer. Well, let's say that the road goes this way. He had the machete and he was sharpening it so that it would be sharp. That's what he was doing.
Witness, am I correct in saying that, the word, what is the Swahili word for the machete?
Sorry, rudia tena.
Is that
Answer. Please repeat your question.
I could lead on this as well, I suppose.
yes?
Witness, is it correct that what he was holding was something?
Stop there.
Mr. President, that was my concern. Perhaps the answers could follow up in private session, please.
Yes. For now, the lawyer is asking you how you heard. You can just tell us. You remember he indicated what he had in mind, whether you heard it on the radio or on the television. You can just briefly answer that and give him that information.
Ilikuwa kwa TV.
The witness, I heard it on the television,
Thank you. Mr. Pugliati, can you continue in open session?
Mr. President, my next few questions, there aren't many. It's 2 or 3 minutes, but my next few questions I'd please request private session.
Private session then.
Likewise, is there a road that links Chepkanga to Kimumu?
Ndio hiyo ya Iten Road.
Yes, it is known as Iten Road.
Now, witness, my last question. Are Ilulu and Chepkanga in the direction of Eldoret or away from Eldoret?
Iko within Eldoret lakini sio bali vile na Eldoret town.
It is towards Eldoret, not too far from Eldoret town.
Now, witness, without saying any names, you told the court a few moments ago that you had heard that Ilula and Chepkanga had been burnt. Could you just explain in a little more detail what you mean by that?
Before you answer, if you need to refer to anybody, and if the name of that person is in the sheet of paper, only mention the name only mention the number indicated against the name. So as in person number 1 or 10 or just something like that. Just the number. Thank you.
Hiyo tarehe 29 ni hiyo tu nilisikia.
On the 29th, that is what I heard, that some ladies had come from casual work at Irura and had been calling other persons to inform them that Irura and Chepkanga had been, in fact, that burning had started in those areas.
Could you tell the court how you heard this? And again, use the sheet if necessary. Don't say any names, but how did you hear that there had been burning in Ilula and Chepkonga?
Mr. Puliati, are you able to make that question more precise so that you can control the discussion better?
Short answer, Mr. President, not terribly. I don't want to put words in the witness's mouth. I'd like the witness to testify in her own words, of course. But it's something which I'm expressing this caution because we're in public session.
Yes.
And I don't want names which I'm unaware of to potentially emerge in open court. The freest reign we would have in this discrete topic would be in private session. And I would, in asking for that, I would only need a couple of minutes because I'm intending to move on quite soon.
All right, let's go.
And that is a precautionary request.
All right, we'll go into private session. You say for how long?
I'm aware I've said this before, but 2 or 3 minutes.
Private session for, let's hope to do it in 2 minutes or less.
Nous sommes en audience publique, Monsieur le Président.
Mr. President, we're in public session.
Thank you. Mr. Puliati, a moment ago when you said something to the effect, your last question, I was almost jumping for joy. How are we doing? That wasn't now, it was a while back.
Progress has been, as expected, it's been steady and good today. We remain on course. We hope to finish our examination in chief tomorrow.
At what time, approximately?
There are still some rather substantive matters to canvass with this witness, but we're hoping by the lunchtime session or worst case spilling over somewhat, but perhaps not entirely into the last session.
Let's try and finish it before the lunchtime session. Do your best.
We'll do our absolute best, Mr. President.
Thank you. Proceed, please.
Now, witness, you had told the court earlier, I'm still talking about 29 December, that you returned to your house. Did you spend that night in your house? Just answer that question.